Hi there, welcome back. We're gonna be doing an EOS torch tutorial today. I've been meaning to do this on my favorite aspects for a little while now. Since we did our general RTA tutorial a little bit ago, I kind of thought, you know what, it might be fun to kind of rip into some of my favorite aspects because I'm well aware that out of the 6 weapons that I run, only a handful of them are kind of meta, so to say, or like they're the only ones that are like really getting any usage. But for the most part, people don't run Hell, Nurgle, Eos, or Artemis on RTA very often. Nurgle sometimes. Nyx sees some use in, like, a couple of different runners use Nyx for all weapons, and I think several people use Cersei in all weapons, so I think those two are a little bit more common, and we'll get to those a little bit later, since there will be a little bit more footage available for those. But certainly for Eos and Artemis, definitely are the ones that get the lowest population of runners actually running them. So I think Eos and Artemis are what I'm going to kind of start with, and then we'll kind of go through the others as we go. We're starting with Eos, partially as a meme from our Twitch Rivals run the other day, where during that run, on the commentary, Halion said, I need to call up Steve and get some pointers on Eos. So that's what this video's for. We're doing pointers on Eos. This is gonna be how to do decently with Eos, which is not easy. For sure. This is certainly not nearly as fast as Moros. I definitely think Melanoe has a lot more potential, and Supai is probably okay. Like, when Supai first launched, it was really, really good, but now it's kind of been nerfed quite a bit. But I think either way, the aspect of Eos is largely overlooked for speedruns. And so I want to put a little bit of a spotlight on it because I do thoroughly enjoy this weapon.
Still not even a scratch.
So let's start by talking about the aspect itself. Your Omega attack fires a Daybreaker that deals damage in an area around it every 2 seconds. The Daybreaker is a slow-seeking shot that blasts nearby foes and copies your specials. Limit 1 at a time. On the surface, I think at first glance, Eos looks, based on its general description, with regards to the Daybreaker, Eos looks like you'd think it would be an attack-focused aspect, but it's not. It is very much a special-focused aspect, and the key comes in the Daybreaker copying your specials. Effectively, what that means is whenever your Daybreaker is out, you're going to be getting double the mileage out of your special than you would if it's not. So generally, in most encounters, the first thing you want to do is get that Daybreaker on the field, and then you want to start... you want to throw out an Omega special, because that immediately gives you 4 orbiting projectiles, plus any specials you use while, like, any base specials you use while running around get used not just by Mel, but also by the Daybreaker itself. So I think on the surface, a lot of people expect this to be an attack-heavy weapon, and it's not. So generally, when it comes to, like, actual combat, what I try to focus on is get that Daybreaker out, get that Omega special out, and then you kind of want to dance around enemies and stuff. And I used to always just only spam the specials while the Daybreaker was out, but lately I've been trying to mix in the occasional attack as well. Especially if you're running a curse on your attack, you want to make sure that that's being kept up, not just by the Daybreaker, but by you as well. Okay, let's talk about altars a little bit here. this altar that I generally use, that I have been using as a foundation for quite some time, is all rounded and safe and easy to use for speedrunning. This specific altar is probably going to do you very, very well and will probably help you get pretty solid times. But if you're looking to get into, you know, top of the world territory, you're probably going to have to make a couple, changes instead. And so this is the one that tends to get used for a lot of speedruns, but a lot of people will mix up whether or not they're using Huntress or Knight doesn't see a whole lot of use, but a lot of people just kind of like mix and match some of the more potent attacking ones. I think for Eos, honestly, Knight is a pretty good, is like a pretty good Arcana for Eos. Like, I almost kind of want to get rid of the lovers in favor of picking up Knight and Wayward. Wayward for safety here. So this is probably what we're going to go with here. Is it going to be the most optimal Arcana in the world? No, probably not. I'm sure somebody could find a better way to utilize this. But I think this will be pretty decently well-rounded. I think it'll do well. But certainly you definitely want the Sorceress. Furies is probably relatively optional here. Wayward also probably relatively optional. I like, once again, this setup is pretty good for just general safety and ability to just hop into it. But this one is, yeah, you're kind of ditching the persistence in favor of going for more damage. Alright, so that's the altar we're going to be using for this run. In terms of Olympians, I really like starting Zeus. I really think Blitz Special does wonders on this thing because you're constantly shooting out specials. As I said before, once you get that Daybreaker out, you're going to have 4 Omega Specials orbiting constantly, applying Blitz, plus your own special, also adding another 2 projectiles into the mix that also will be inflicting Blitz. So there's lots of lightning damage going on here if you start with Zeus special. And I think Heaven Flourish really segues super well into Arc Flash. Damage from Omega moves immediately activates Blitz and makes them stronger. You are going to be constantly using the Daybreaker, which is going to trigger Arc Flash, and each of those projectiles are also going to be contributing constantly. So absolutely Arc Flash is a great boon to pick up if you can grab it early. Obviously, Shocking Loss is never bad to have. Double Strike is wonderful here. You could probably even make like Storm Ring work pretty well, but I think in general what we're really going to want to do is, once we have Heaven Flourish right off the rip, we're probably going to want to grab something either on attack or cast that is going to be giving us a nice, sweet status curse. I think actually next we probably want to talk about magic regen. So Hera is going to be pretty solid. I mean, Hera's never really a bad magic regen unless you're already priming a lot of magic for different reasons. So Hera's probably going to be a good pick here. I also think that both Sworn Strike and Engagement Ring work wonders on Eos, so absolutely Hera's worth a pick. And if you're feeling really baller towards the end of a run, picking King's Ransom and boosting that special damage out the wazoo, also a pretty solid pick. We also... I feel like Poseidon's very situational here. Demeter, I think, could do decent work because Hailstorm's okay. Hailstorm's, like, okay, but also having Frost on either cast or attack would be really good for, like, safety and making sure that you're not getting swarmed by mobs. So, like, Demeter's pretty solid. Not, like, super amazing, but pretty solid. I feel like Apollo increasing the blast radius of the the Daybreaker is pretty solid. Plus it has like a relatively high scaling, so I think Apollo could do decent here as well. Blinding Rush is almost never bad. But I'd say more than anything, picking up Light Smite is a good call here. Like, having Light Smite on Eos is really nice, especially because Ares' attack works really, really well here on the Daybreaker. And specifically having the Ares attack, the Zeus special, and Light Smite all together gives us access to Heinous Affront, which is going to be using Light Smite a lot. Like, a lot. So absolutely, Heinous Smite is a good combo to have here on Eos, because you're going to be proccing it a lot if you can get it. I also think Cut Above is really good here. Just, you know, adding a little bit extra magic cost for sure. But having those Omega moves also causing the Falling Blades to appear is also, like, really good for wave clear here on Eos. So I quite like that one. Grievous Blow also pairs really nicely because you're going to be inflicting wounds constantly with that Daybreaker. So I think Ares has a lot of good stuff here. For sure. I think Hestia could be pretty decent as well. Like, Scorch on attack is also, like, a really solid one to have. Also, Hestia cast, not too bad either. So, I feel like there's a number... out of all the aspects that I run, I think Eos is probably the one that's a little bit, like, the most flexible. Like, there's very few things on Eos that are, like, bad for like, Olympians. So, I think... in general, you can't go wrong if you pick up Zeus and then grab another status curse on either cast or attack. I think you'll be pretty solid. While Aphrodite's attack is kind of it's solid, but it's not like amazing. I think Glamour Gain is pretty good here because you're not exactly burning magic rapidly like Moros is. You're kind of spending a big chunk all up front, and then you're not spending any for a little bit. So that's... I think Glamour Gain's pretty solid here because you're going to be regenning some of that, and you'll already have a status curse on enemies. Yeah, so that's kind of what we're talking for Olympians. Once again, I like starting Zeus, so that's what we're going to go through on this example run here. In our second biome, Fig Leaf. Pretty much always pick Fig Leaf. Like, it's really unfortunate that that's the way it is, but it's 3 free rooms. I mean, knock on wood, it's 3 free rooms, right? So you kinda gotta. For biome 3, I think Droplet has some potential here. Just speeding up your channel speed, so getting that Daybreaker onto the field as quickly as possible is never a bad thing. Plus, like, actual physical move speed through the fields is never gonna do you wrong. Of course, Gorgon Amulet, if you're working on IGT, also a wonderful, wonderful thing to have, because Athena dunking everything in the fields is going to stop the timer for the entirety of the time that she is there with you. I think Righteous Pikes has some usability here. You're not going to be spamming it as much as some of the other, like, super magic heavy weapons, but you'll be getting pikes out there, especially if you have the regen to allow it. But of course, like, her cast, her dash, like, Athena's solid all around. Great for safety. A good, solid pick. In terms of Tartarus, obviously White Antler is the GOAT for straight-up damage. So absolutely, you can go with that if you're feeling up for it. For this example run, I'm probably not going to use it because admittedly I'm not super practiced on Antler. I've kind of gotten in the rhythm of it for Artemis Blades, but not yet on Eos. Experimental Hammer could be okay here, I think, for your Tartarus. I really like Lion's Fang, especially because Lion's Fang is going to be buffing up that Blitz damage. I used to really like Black and Fleece, but it's hard to justify when it's literally only the Omega moves that deal the extra damage, which is the Daybreaker itself as well as the specials, and it's not the resulting status effects. Whereas Lion Fang is just global everything extra damage. So I think Lion's Fang's almost always the right pick if you're not feeling ready to antler. And then that'll, assuming we build into the Ares path, that'll be decent for mutual destruction as well because we're not reducing our health. So that's going to be our keepsakes. Since we're not taking persistence, I'm definitely going to take Hecuba to start because otherwise we're going to have some magic problems early on in the run. I definitely think there's a world where Gali is okay, and I've played a lot with Rocky when I do run persistence, which is, once again, Rocky is going to be giving you crit chance, so, you know, can't go wrong with that. And as always, here's our Underworld Oaths. We got the Frenzy level 2, we got Shadow, and Time. Time doesn't really matter in this one, unlike the first one. Shadow's going to make Shadow Spiller go faster, and Frenzy is going to make enemies spawn and theoretically die faster because they'll spawn in faster. So, with all of that said, let's reroll. I'm going to bring up a generic timer here, and then we'll get rolling. Alrighty.
Here we go.
Here goes it for the run. Also, I'm sorry you're feeling under the weather there, Lucifer. Hope you get well soon. Okay, so as I said, we really want to go for specials here. So we're going to pick that, even though we had, like, an Epic Storm Ring, which could have been, like, pretty useful. Certainly picking up the, I can't believe I canceled. Okay, so one of the biggest things to watch out for when you're running EOS is if you cancel just by dashing just before the actual Daybreaker comes out, it can be pretty detrimental. So just be aware of the timing of it. So yeah, you want to make sure that you get these specials out as quickly as possible so you can kind of like work on clearing the room. One of the other big things that you can do with EOS too is just let that little dude fly, and it'll, you know, run around the room for you and like kind of clear stuff out so you can actually take an opposite corner of the room if you really wanted to. Apollo's great here. I'd really like Blinding Sprint, yeah. Really wish that would have landed on the special, but that's fine. Okay, so we're gonna lock this guy down here. That could have been a lot smoother, but that's okay. Double strike's good here. There we go. More magic. So you want to make sure that you're kind of like making sure if you have your little Daybreaker buddy out and about killing enemies, then you're clearing another part of the room. Or if you're working on a boss or an otherwise bigger enemy, you want to try and use it to pile on the damage from your Zeus specials. My controller died. This is fine. Don't worry about it. So, yeah, you can just kind of like have your little Eos friend kind of taking out those enemies while I'm working on another side of the room. Super handy. Welcome in, Bizarre. Or welcome in, Haze and Weird Man.
The skilled.
Alrighty.
The choice is yours.
I really like the idea of killing Stroke, but I mean, Shadow Pounce is great because your Omega moves are going to be constantly orbiting through the room anyway. So giving Omega moves extra damage is wonderful. Crit damage. And you're going to be dashing a lot, so it's a good pick. It pairs especially well with Knight. As I said before, getting Visage Strikes here is really good. So if we can get Light Smite, if we can get Light Smite or Divine Vengeance, we will be doing quite well. Normally, if I don't have a whole lot of magic by not taking Hecuba, I actually opt to only use my little Eos buddy and then regular specials rather than Omega. I probably could have gone with Omega here because I have like still a lot of magic left over, but you can kind of like still make decent headway even with just a regular Omega or regular special. Alright, and that's Hecate. Not like the cleanest Hecate in the world. I've certainly done better with other aspects as well as Eos, but I think that was decent. Alrighty, here we're picking up the Fig Leaf, but we got like our pretty solid core right now. We've got all three of the Olympians that I really like to see. The other one that I'd really like to tie this together would be Hera. But we could make Aphrodite work as well. I think Hestia would be fine too. Like, there's a lot of gods who could kind of slot into this final spot and still do really, really well. And there we go. Let's pick Hestia here over Aphrodite. And then in terms of, where are you? In terms of, magic gain, I think Lucid could go well here. I know nobody likes Grizzly gain, but I actually do, like, unironically. I think it's pretty solid. Like, yeah, sure, it's mildly annoying to have to, like, dance around a room to, like, pick stuff up, but, like, it gives you a solid amount of magic without overdoing it. I'd really like to see Light Smite sooner rather than later. Now, obviously, Eos is not going to be setting any world records for speed, particularly like when set against something like Moros, which has a lot more upfront damage potential. In order to like maximize Eos's damage, you really do just need to get things flying ASAP. Let's pick up Slow Cooker here for some extra damage and head into the Sirens.
She came.
I definitely think Hera would make the Sirens go a lot smoother here, but I think with what we have, it should go pretty decent as well. Yeah, so as I said kind of before, you want to try and maximize the time that you're dancing around your with your special at the same time. Or your Omega, the Daybreaker. That way you're like spamming projectiles as much as possible. And so yeah, there we go. That's skill on the Sirens. About 8 minutes into the run for RTA here. I don't think we have a whole lot of magic spend here, so I'm actually going to go with Metallic Droplet. And Chimera Jerky, of course, just buffs up special damage, so why not? Things I'd really like to see here. Light Smite, Divine Vengeance, Static Shock could be pretty decent. Arc Flash. We got lots of potential here. Grievous Blow, Cut Above. Cut Above into Cutting Edge is decent. Brother.
I draw you down, O moon. Lend me your light.
I have the total eclipse.
I really like Total Eclipse, just in general. Yeah, let's pick that up. Roll for Light Smite. Okay, big mini.
In the name of Hades.
Light Smite. Okay. And now if we're... I guess we can't get Heinous Affront off of this, but we can hope to see Heinous Affront at some point in the rest of the run.
Such a power.
I should have actually looked at what my numbers were there. I'd say Eos isn't like quite as hammer dependent as some of the others. But I do think there are some solid hammers. You want to make sure you're getting ones that are like really like buff up your special. As I said before, Eos is a special focused weapon that looks like it's an attack focus. Is there a way to manipulate the Dawnbreaker's movement? It generally goes towards the closest enemies. That's to it. So that's just generally where it's going to go. I like Enduring Coil here. So you kind of have to plan around that, almost. You can't, like, force it to go in certain directions, but what you can do is just predict where it's going to go based on how the enemy layout of the room is. And so you can kind of, like, see what the... Like, this is with, like, a pretty low Blitz special and not much else going for us right now. And we're still putting out, like, a pretty solid amount of damage here on Cerberus. Like, it's not amazing, but it's better than you'd expect from Eos Torch. I can only imagine. I've seen other runners actually picking up Hera as your special for wave clear, which I think is good in concept, but I'm not sure it's, at least in my experience, it hasn't proven as potent as the blitzes. But I'm sure somebody could totally prove me wrong.
Ever-shifting chambers, realign.
But it is kind of handy knowing that if I throw this little guy out, and then he's just working on the rest of the room, while I'm trying to get enemies that are off in a corner, super handy. Or vice versa. You know, if our little buddy is like going way down this line, it gives me time to kill these guys over here, and I'll know that he's working on the next wave already. So that's super handy stuff.
Just 2 more chambers.
Flash Fry really kind of helps tie it all together, for sure. Unfortunately, we didn't get the Heinous Smite combo, which is really good for wave clear, and it's going to be much less potent in the Chronos fight. But hopefully we can get it, just to kind of like demonstrate what it looks like. Admittedly, I find Heinous Smite really, really good if you have it before Charybdis, if you're doing the surface.
The house is just ahead. Down there.
Okay, let's hope for the Heinous Smite roll here. Ooh, Grievous Blow is actually really good. We'll do one more. We'll do one more.
Let's try this again.
And we're out of rerolls. Okay, cool. We'll take Profuse Bleeding. And you can give me, honestly, yeah, Backburner's fine.
Sure.
Alrighty, and onward to Chronos. Entering Chronos at 14 minutes while I'm like kind of stopping in shops to talk about stuff. That's pretty solid.
Return again, I see.
Our IGT's not looking amazing, but I do like things that give you kind of like more attack speed here, which is why I actually don't dislike the Grizzly game pickup. Because I just find like Grizzly game giving you Plasma, which helps your attack speed, not bad at all when your primary goal is getting our little friend out here on the field. So we're down phase 1. If you're not taking lovers, assuming you don't have lovers at this point, it's kind of handy just to like throw out your little Daybreaker here. He'll start putting out damage for you, which is super nice. Obviously, the more you do this, the more you'll get a feel for how long the Daybreaker lasts, and you kind of get in the rhythm of being like, okay, it's gonna run out now. Yeah. It's gonna run out now. And then you can start working on preparing a second one. Alternatively, if you're finding that your Daybreaker is running off in a corner and all the enemies in that corner are cleared, it's also great to just reposition the Daybreaker. Using another Omega attack will just move it to a different spot. Will move it to where you are casting it. So if you find wherever it is in the room is not helping you, you can always recast it as well. So it's not like it totally derps off doing absolutely nothing. It still has some use here. Let's minimize those for a second so we can kind of like look at the breakdown here. Solid run, thank you. Yeah, so looking at our damage breakdown here, Omega Special did the most damage, which once again, when you're looking at EOS, I think it's easy to presume that with the description of EOS, that EOS is going to be an attack focused aspect, and it's really, really not. Like our Omega attack there did 33k, which is like doing work, obviously. If we had a higher blitz, the blitz damage would be going nutty, plus the Omega special damage. You see the special damage also did 31k, which is pretty good. And so when you combine Omega Special, Blitz, and Special all together, that's effectively counting for the accessories to your Daybreaker. So while it did, the Daybreaker itself did pull a lot of weight on its own with that 33k, the true magic of this aspect is bumping that special, Omega Special damage, and Blitz are all effectively twice what they would be normally, because you're getting double the effect out of it from having your little Daybreaker. So definitely a good thing to focus on is getting a nice juicy Heaven Flourish. Ours wasn't very good. This was a pretty not great Heaven Flourish run. But certainly if you get a nice heroic one right off the rip, that's great. If you can get palms into it, that's wonderful as well. But just in general, I've had a lot of success with Zeus, and Ares I find is my favorite accessory god to add on here. Like I said, Grizzly Gain's not the worst thing in the world. I know a lot of people really don't like it, but giving you additional attack speed to get those Daybreakers out faster, plus recovering mana, not a bad thing. I also like how Ares gives us cut above, which is really, really handy with the amount of Omega damage that we're going to be doing. And just having like the orbiting Daybreaker as well as the specials going around it are all going to be triggering cut above, which is super handy. You pair that with Apollo for cutting edge and dealing double that amount of damage, super handy as well. Apollo also works wonders on the Ares and Zeus combo, specifically because Heinous Smite is incredible. Once again, we didn't get it on this run, but once you get it all together, it looks phenomenal. And then once again, accessory gods to add on to this, like the fourth god has a lot of like flexibility to it, and like even if you don't get Apollo or Ares, like Hera's wonderful to grab, Hestia's wonderful. There's a lot of gods that can like really fill in the slots, and you'll really find a lot of success with them. So absolutely consider, like, even Poseidon, picking up Poseidon cast is pretty good. Flood gain is pretty solid for a magic regen on this weapon. Plus, Killer Current does wonders when you're shooting out so many blitz-based projectiles. So absolutely consider Poseidon as well. Like I said, there's not a whole lot that's like anti-synergistic on this. Like, I feel like once you get the Zeus special going, there's a lot that can work with it. So, and then once again, feel free to prove me wrong. Like, I'm more than happy to see somebody get better numbers with like a, let's say like a Hera special, or I've heard other people picking up like Apollo and Aphrodite for nice, that sweet damage bonus, or in Apollo's case also the additional AoE. But yeah, I'm happy to see what people like running on their EOS. So anyway, if you stuck around to the end of this, thank you for watching. I really like using EOS. It's one of my, honestly, it's probably worked its way up into my top 3. I love running this weapon. It's so silly, it's so adorable, and I think it's woefully underappreciated in my opinion. But I think it has some cool potential. So please, if you want to run some EOS, feel free to take a rip at her now that you've kind of seen what it can do. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye!